This is the first of what I hope will be a 3 or 4 video series on how to use Inkscape to create decals that are used in the restoration of old woodworking and metal tools. I hope you enjoy the video. A few years ago I made several YouTube videos on how to make decals for old woodworking machines that a lot of us restore and refurbish. Unfortunately, those decals disappeared, and those videos disappeared, and I'm not absolutely sure where they went to. So in light of that, I decided to go ahead and remake them, but incorporate into it some of the newer techniques that I have picked up along the way over the last few years. And I guess one of the most important lessons I've learned over the years is that the end product is directly proportional to the thing we start with. In this particular case, what kind of a video or image we have of the decal we want to restore or reproduce. And here is the decal that I want to reproduce. Now, this particular one came from some pictures out on Vintage Machinery website. Let me see here if I've got any others. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and use this decal as my starting point for Inkscape. I also have a 14-inch bandsaw. I'll show it to you here in just a second, that I picked up a few years ago. It's a 1937. There it is. And I'm going to start restoring this one probably sometime this year. So I'm going to need the decal, and here's the decal that I had on that particular bandsaw. So let's go ahead and get started here. Let's go ahead and open up Inkscape. And I do use Linux. And there's my Inkscape. Okay, the first thing that I want to do is minimize this guy for now and get rid of him. Okay, so I want to open up my layers box. And let's just minimize this. Okay, and I want to change this layer name to graphics. I'll show you why in just a second. Okay, so and then select that layer. Now what I want to do is I want to import that image of that decal. So I go to import, and that particular decal is located right over here in this directory, and it's called Good Decal, as I recall. See if I can't find it. There it is, right there. Good Decal. Yeah, that's it. So we'll go ahead and open that. There we go. Now let's just go ahead and zoom in on that a little bit. Move it over here, and that looks pretty good. Now, one of the things I like to make sure is that it's level. So I come up here and I'm going to bring down a guideline. I'm going to bring it on the bottom, and that looks pretty close. And move it up to the top, to here, and that looks pretty good. So I think this is, I'm not going to have to do anything with this, rotate it or anything. I think this is going to be just fine. So we'll leave that right there. All right, next thing I need to do is add a couple of more layers here, and I'm going to call it background. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this gold part first. I'll call that the background layer. And the first thing I'm going to do is outline it, and then I'll fill it. So the way I do that is actually quite simple. I use this tool right here, which is the Bezier Curves tool. And I start over here, and when I click, I add a node. And I like to add 2 nodes on every corner, just like so. And I come over here. When I see this, see it got larger and turned red. I just click on that, and that gives me a closed curve. To edit that closed curve, I come up to this, Edit Paths, because this is now a path. And I can grab this curve right here, and I can move it up like so. And I can grab this curve down here and move it up like so. Now, this is just rough. I'm going to come out here and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And move it over. Because now I want to start working on the corners. I'm going to grab the curve and I'm going to move this out. Come here. There we go. And move that out. Now, a little trick that I learned is to take these nodes, select them by clicking on them, and coming up to this little tool right here. And that's called the Make Selected Nodes Smooth. And you'll watch what happens as I do this. You'll see that they change their shape a little bit. Okay. Now, the other thing I like to do is kind of make sure that these are about the same distance apart. And that's important because it determines the radius of this curve here. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to grab this little handle. If I select this curve or this node point right here, you notice I got these two little handles here, and if I move them, I can change things around. So I'm going to move this up a little bit and do the same thing with this one. That already looks pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to move out a little bit, and I can see that this line is pretty grim. So just move this and scroll up a little bit. I'm going to grab this point, and now watch what happens as I move it. See, as I move it, it changes that arc. So as I move it left and right, it changes how it looks. So what I'm going to do is a combination of changing the distance and above to the right and to the left until I get that arc just exactly where I want it in the center of the line. Now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do the same thing with this corner. Okay. There we go. I'll grab this line again, pull it out, and do the same thing. Smooth these arcs or these nodes. This is going to be important when we get into making letters, because smoothing these nodes will make a big difference when we make the letters. Let's just pull this down on the line. There we go. See, I got a nice smooth line here. Let me zoom out a little bit. One thing I don't like about this is these. I still haven't figured out a good way to use these boxes. Okay, let's go look for that. There it is. And now we're going to do the same thing on this side. Make sure that that line is exactly where we want it. Okay, I'm just going to turn this off for now. Let's see how we look in here. Okay, that line looks a little off. You can adjust these and tweak them by playing with these little parts right here. You can see that's just a little bit tweaked a little bit. Okay. So there's the top curve and the two end corners. Now I'm going to go down and do the exact same thing with the lower curve, and I'm going to pause the video, and when I get done we'll come right back. Okay, I think I've got it pretty well done. These lines look pretty close now. So I'm going to just go ahead and select this and go back to my layers dialog. Make sure I'm selected background, and I have. And now I'm coming over here. Let's see if I've got some other ones there. Object centers, grids. Okay. So let me go up here. And what I'm looking for now is my where is it? Where is it? Ah, there it is right there. Fill and stroke. Okay. Now, fill means to fill everything inside of the curve. Stroke has to do with the thickness of the line. So if I come over here and if I play with this and change it from millimeters to points, and I just start increasing it, you can see the size and thickness of this line changing. And what I try to do is get it to the point where it's exactly the same thickness as the drawing is that I'm using. And what I can do, and what I like to do now, is I will take this and I will turn it, switch it on and off. You can see I'm switching the background on and off, which is turning that black line on and off so I can see what's underneath it. And that looks pretty close. Now the next thing I need to do is to fill it with this gold color. Now there's a couple of things you can do. You can choose not to fill it and make yourself a stencil and put it on your machine and then spray paint the gold on here, which is what a lot of people do because you can't really get this gold the way you want. And a lot of people just go ahead and fill it. And so what we're going to do, and I'll show you how to do that, make sure that we're selected, background, and we've got this thing selected, and then we just select the fill. And you'll notice that when I do that, it goes to the default black. And I don't want black, I want gold. So I'm going to change this opacity to 0. And when I do that, I can now select this tool, which is pick colors from the image. And if I go right here and pick one of these shades of gold, there we go. And now I've got the background layer all completely finished. Okay? So that's a beginning, and that's an introduction to how it is what we're going to do. Now the next, let me turn this off. Nice thing about these layers is now I can turn this off and I'm back to my decal again. Okay, so what I want to do now is the next thing I'm going to do, and the next video is going to be how we're going to do this blue ribbon, and then the third video will be dedicated to doing the letters and how the different techniques we can use to do the letters. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for the next one. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for the next in the series, and we should have that out till probably in the next few days.